Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you who have joined in for Story Pitara here on ECDF today. I'm honored and privileged to be here, and I thank ECDF team for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I am Debidutta Mohanty, a passionate storyteller and founder of Katha Manthan. I'm also a blogger and a classical dancer. So from my Pitara, today I bring you a story that I heard from Jane Blake, and I have given few adaptations to it. Any guesses? So let me take you there, because stories transform, stories take you to a different world. So once upon a time in the forest of Martinique, a beautiful island that sits in the Caribbean Sea, an old woman would sit daily by the river looking into the river. And she sat there and she remembered her days when she used to go into the river, catch fishes with her bare hands. She remembered how easily she could climb each one of those mango trees, pluck the ripe mangoes, and throw them into the welcoming arms of her husband. She remembered how she and her husband would sit by the river in a warm embrace. But now she's old. She cannot catch fish anymore, nor can she go up and climb those mango trees and pluck the mangoes. Her husband has died years ago, and her one son would barely come on to visit her, and her one granddaughter would never write to her. She was sitting there by the river thinking, why my life has come to this, the life of loneliness. In this beautiful forest as it was. Not only that, because of her old age, she could not catch fish anymore. She could not climb those mango trees and pluck the ripe mangoes, nor could she attend the farm. The only choice that she had was to live on the wild watercress that grew around her house and by the river. Watercress once in a while is okay. Watercress for breakfast, watercress for lunch, watercress for dinner, watercress soup, watercress pie, watercress stuffed watercress, sandwich, watercress flan, watercress, watercress, watercress. And she was wondering how the life could have. When suddenly she heard the fluttering behind the bushes, and she saw one of the most beautiful birds that she had ever seen in her life. A bird whose body was filled with vivid, beautiful blue colors from its beak to its tail, and had wonderful pink, the most beautiful pink that one can imagine. Beautiful stretched pink wings. She saw that the bird had a broken wing. The old woman stooped down and picked that bird in her palm, and she tried to stroke it gently. At first, the bird was a little scared, but with her gentle stroke, she could feel the bird heartbeat started slowing down. She was stroking gently and saying, I will take care of you. And you could feel that the bird started to feel relaxed. She took that bird back to her home, kept it on her bed, and every day she shared her watercress. She started dropping healing oil on her broken wings, and she sang a song, which I'm going to sing for you all, as this is a tea time also. There stands a bluebird, tra la la la. You can sing along with me. There stands a bluebird, tra la la la. Give me sugar, coffee, and tea. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Now show me a motion. Show me a motion. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Now dance around the ocean. Cha la 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 la. Dance around the ocean. Cha la 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 la. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. And she used to sing the song every single day to the bird, and she could see every day the bird grew stronger and stronger. And one day she could feel and see that the bird has completely healed. It flew and rested on to her shoulder. She saw that, and at that moment, she felt the time has come to say goodbye to her friend. Because she, the bird, was the bird of the wild, and she could not keep it. So she said, "Come, my friend, it's time." And she took that bird onto her finger to the river, and there, with a heavy heart and tears in her eyes, said, "It was my pleasure to have your company, but my friend, now it's time for you to go." And then she helped the bird fly into the sky, and it was gone after a few minutes. Every day, the next day, she used to come and sit by the river, and her eyes searched in the sky in case her friend might come back and pay a visit to her. But there was no sign of the bird on the first day. The second day, she again went to the river, sat there, and her eyes searched the sky just to have a look of her friend. There was no sign of the bird. But on the third day, when she looked up, she could see the bird dancing across the sky, and she said, "Hey, that's my friend, that's my friend." The bird came back to her, and she started hovering over her head. And this old lady could see that she had a pumpkin seed in its mouth. And when she looked up, the bird dropped it, and she caught the seed in her palms and said, "Pumpkin seed? Not watercress." And she was so happy. "Thank you, my friend." And the bird was gone. She took that seed, planted it next to her house, cared that seed with watering it every day, speaking to it every day. And after 7 days, a shoot came out. And after 7 more days, tendrils started growing. And after 14 days, finally, there was a big, fat, juicy pumpkin. And she was so glad. She anticipated the juicy, fresh, orange flesh of the pumpkin, and she could think of all the dishes and recipes. Pumpkin risotto, pumpkin soup, baked pumpkin, stuffed pumpkin, though with watercress. And she could imagine all the recipes. And then she took the knife, gently cut the pumpkin, brought it back to home, kept it on the table, and there she was ready to cut the pumpkin into half. And she cut the pumpkin into half. And what did she see? Any guesses? What if it was your pumpkin? Any special recipe or dishes that you would have wanted to have? There were all kinds of delectable and delicious cooked food. Biryani, kebab, baked fish, anything that comes to your mind. All good food, and that she had not taken it for years together. And she was so happy, her heart filled with joy, and she started to eat them. so tasty. And she ate and she ate and she ate, but still she could not finish it. Then she remembered about her neighbor, the only person living in that entire region. The lady, her neighbor, used to stay the other side of the forest, but she was a woman who would never ever fail to make you feel that how unlucky you are, how unfortunate you are. She would say, "Oh, do you know, my son came last week. I heard that your son had not come for a year and he hardly visits you. Oh, you know, the other day, my granddaughter and I were picking those ripe mangoes. Your granddaughter never writes to you, know? Ah." So she was that kind of woman. But still, this old lady was not very keen on her neighbor, but she felt why to waste the food rather sharing it with someone. And that's the reason she went with the share from that pumpkin and gave it to her neighbor. Her neighbor relished it. Oh, so tasty. Thank you so much. And every day, this old woman would bring that food to her neighbor, and she also told about the bird and about the pumpkin. After a few days, her neighbor felt, oh, why should I have a leftovers? I should have my pumpkin. I should have my bird. And she went to the river in search of the bird. After a couple of days, she could hear the same plucking that she was aware of. And she saw one of the most beautiful bird, the bird's body that covered from its beak to its tail with vivid, beautiful blue feathers, and its wings with one of the most strong and pink that one can ever imagine, one of the most beautiful pink. She saw that bird. The bird was healthy. She took a stick and smashed that bird and broke one of her wings. She took the bird and threw it in one of the corners of her house. Didn't care for her. Neither she gave water, nor food, nor spoke with kind words, nothing. After 3 days, she was sick and tired, and she just took the bird. I want my pumpkin seed. And then she just didn't even care and threw it into the air. The bird was trying hard to fly and somehow managed with her broken wings, and she flew into the air and she was gone. She went to the river and started looking for that same bird. First couple of days, there was no sign of the bird, but on the third day, she could see that the bird came back and started hovering over her head. And she could see a pumpkin seed. Yes, she had got it for me. And she came and dropped it into her palms. She took the seed and planted it next to her house. But she didn't care to water it, nor speak any kind words, nothing. In fact, she used to pour all the dirty water of the house to the seed, to the plant. After 20 days, finally, a big, fat, juicy pumpkin was there. And she was so glad, I have got a bigger pumpkin than my neighbor. Yes. And she ripped the pumpkin from the ground, placed it on the table into her house, and got a big chopper. And she took it and whack! The pumpkin was into her house. What did she see? Any guesses? The weirdest, the strangest of things. Scorpions, mosquitoes, slugs, creepy crawlers, giant levers, and one of the leeches just climbed onto her shoulder and screamed, and she ran from her house. all those creatures started chasing her until she reached the river. And she jumped into the river and swam and swam and swam and went. And she went the other side of the forest. And there also she did not stop. She was so scared. She kept running and almost she reached no man's land. But here, our friend, our old lady, as a daily routine, she used to sit by the river and she used to wait for her friend. Her friend used to flew and come and rest on her shoulders. And every single day she used to sing, there stands a bluebird, tra-la-la-la. There stands a bluebird, tra-la-la-la. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Now show me a motion. Show me a motion. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Debidutta, for this lovely, lovely session. I'm sure everybody must have enjoyed it, and it's already in Facebook, so there were people watching there, and we'll keep it, and the link would be there, so we'll be sharing it too with all. And thank you so much for your time and for finding time to be here today with us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Acharya. It was a pleasure to be here and share this story. I chose this story for young ones so that they enjoy with a little message that this story also had with it. Thank you so much for this beautiful platform and for this opportunity.
Thank you. See ya then. Bye.